Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode, episode number 59 today for the Japanese Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Russian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one. But heading into this episode then, we have the ultimate engine upgrade applied to the car, probably the final upgrade we'll be having to this car in Season 3, of course. We have the R&D reset, so it's saving resource points for the kind of adaptation of parts, if you will, but an ultimate engine upgrade means we really streak quite some way ahead of Red Bull and Haas, that kind of plateau a little bit, along with Force India, Ferrari, Renault, Merc, Toro Rosso. Really the only other upgrades for the grid are the Sauber team, who try and close up on Toro Rosso there on the raw performance, but obviously as of late you've been seeing the Toro Rosso and even the Force India at times has not really been performing as it does on paper, just like it did back in the F1 2017 career mode, where sometimes the performance chart doesn't give you the full picture of how the team are actually going to perform. But then headed into this episode, obviously a major positive boost to the performance of the car with that ultimate upgrade. But bad news for us is, well, you can see we're changing the engine components, which is fine, no penalties there. But what is an issue is our gearbox. Once again, our gearbox is very worn out. Last race at Russia, I didn't really show it too much in the race, but at one point in the Russian Grand Prix race, whilst I was recovering up into P13, my fifth gear did actually fail, and my gearbox did actually have a sustained failure in the Russian Grand Prix. So we're going to have to change our gearbox going into Japan one race early once again. So just like at the Hungarian Grand Prix, we'll be faced with a 5-place grid penalty no matter where we qualify. So we're on the back foot in that kind of regard once again. But at Japan, with the ultimate upgrade, I think our car should be going pretty damn well. So I don't think we'll have an issue like we had at Hungary of getting through the traffic and getting a result today. So let's remain positive and let's go into Saturday qualifying then and see how we do around one lap.
Welcome to the only figure of 8 track on the F1 calendar. We're here at Suzuka for qualifying today ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction. And over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong. And that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
So into the first part of Saturday qualifying then in Q1, right at the end of our first flying lap, then through the final chicane and then through on the little bump on the exit, which always gets me a little bit off guard there. You can see having to catch the car and swing it left not to hit the wall, but we do make it through into Q2 then. You can see there also on the bottom the confirmation we have that 5-place grid penalty then of the gearbox change. So it means obviously we go 5 places back. At Hungary, it was a real issue for us. Obviously Hungary had other issues in that race, but I think the traffic did not help. Here at Japan, I am confident, one, the track itself invites a lot of overtaking anyway in real life and in the game, and then two as well, the car looks to be very, very strong. So once I get up to speed in Q2 and Q3, I think we should be able to qualify quite high up, and then in the race, we should have very good race pace. But at the moment though, I do get held up a little bit with not only a screen freeze there, but also Valtteri Bottas on my first sector there in Q2. So I thought initially that was going to maybe mean I had to go for another lap then in Q2 to get through into the top 10 shootout. But to my surprise, that was actually good enough lap time. I think because there was a little bit of again, a bit of funny business in qualifying with the glitch timing. You can see despite being 2.3 seconds off the fastest lap in Q2, I make it into the top 10. So definitely something weird went on, but nonetheless, I'm going to take it. Went to the top 10 shootout then, and I also have 2 sets of super softs to burn then in Q3. So I can go for a first one lap here initially at the start of the session, and I can go for a second one right at the end. So coming through and wrestling the car to the end of the first flying lap then, and we go across the line for P2 then. Alonso still remains on provisional pole by about 3/10 there, so I have 3/10 to find on Fernando on the second flying lap. We're green as we start our second flyer then in this Q3 session. Remember, Alonso is my one and only championship rival, 25 points off he is, and obviously we know Alonso can pull out some alien kind of performances, so we need to make this one count, especially with a 5-place grid penalty, and we do indeed make it count across the line and that is my very first ever pole position on F1 2018 outright there, and it doesn't even really count, to be fair, because on the starting grid I'll be down in what is 1+5 P6 then, unless someone else has a grid penalty, but it is nonetheless on the official standings. P1 pole position, a 1-2 from McLaren, front row lockout there, and really good timing from me in terms of when to bring that out at a time desperately needed. Alonso, a good momentum with 25 points just behind us. We need to bring out the bag, especially with the gearbox penalty, and found some great pace here around Suzuka, and that's why I was confident about the fact that we can come back in this race despite being a little bit further back, because not only did I beat Alonso there by 1.5 tenths, just look at our 2 times. We are literally on another planet here at Suzuka. I don't know what it is, but our car is just a mega machine. For the first time now, you can really see the work we've done this season. Now, I said, I said last episode, in the last few really, that in many ways this season has been a bit of a Mercedes 2014 style kind of season for me and Alonso. Rosberg v Hamilton, myself v Alonso, with the car being so good, but having a lot of bad luck and a lot of different things happening throughout the season to keep it a little bit closer than it might have been. And you can see there by the pure pace, our car is in really good shape here around Suzuka. So looking forward to the race, even though we are further back than we want to be and not on pole. I'm still going to have fun out there and try my best to try and catch back up to Alonso and try and beat him there on Sunday afternoon. So let's get into it. Let's go to the intros and go to the grid.
We're live today from the Mie Prefecture of Japan as we look forward to the Japanese Grand Prix. The 2015 race here was one of only 5 Grand Prix in history to feature no retirements at all. Although with the highly competitive field we have today, I don't expect we'll be repeating that stat anytime soon. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with average speeds approaching 136 miles per hour. DRS will be available, of course, into the potential passing opportunity at turn 1, although the best place for overtaking will be through 130R and into the final chicane. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk briefly about Fernando Alonso. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. What a qualifying from Fernando Alonso. He starts from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Grosjean, Magnussen, the engineer, and Vettel, Verstappen, Bottas, Hülkenberg, and Carlos Sainz. Hartley, Ocon, Kimi Raikkonen, and Gasly, they've taken a grid penalty. Perez, Leclerc, Marcus Ericsson, and Lewis Hamilton. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So we're actually in P5 then on the grid, thanks to Esteban Ocon having some sort of grid penalty that moves him way outside the top 10 then. So one less position to worry about. So P5 on the grid, and it's going to be a 1-stop for us today, super soft to the medium. Both times in seasons 1 and 2, we've done the 2-stop. It's not worked out. This time, I'm going to try the 1-stop with the mediums, and I think it will be the way to go, especially with the pace of our car. It won't even matter if I don't like the medium tyres and how it performs, because our car should have the outright pace to try and negate that. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the Japanese Grand Prix here today, and we're underway here from P5 on the grid. It's a great start, an electric start there by Kevin Magnussen to try and overtake his teammate Grosjean as they try and go 3 wide. The 2 Haas cars try to sandwich Daniel Ricciardo in P2 there, but ultimately he stays there. Alonso waltzes away from pole position. The 2 Haas cars though hold me up. They're side by side in the S section, so this is maybe the kind of traffic I don't kind of want. You can see having to lift off there majorly, now going around the outside of not only 1 but 2 Haas cars there down the inside of Magnussen, but his switchback moves me and does amazingly to get back ahead of me. What a move there by K-Mag to get back through. I don't know how he actually even did that. I didn't even know he had the room to switch to the left-hand side, but there you go, he has done. And so we're back down to P4. So at the moment, Alonso P1, Ricciardo P2, Magnussen 3, myself P4, like I said, with a lock up there into the hairpin, but at least we've got 1 of the Haas cars, and we can try and get Magnussen on the back straight through 130R, and then it'll be a simple case of trying to catch up to the Red Bull, which we know obviously is not amazing in a straight line. So hopefully we have a pretty easy time on our hands trying to get to Alonso, and then it's really going to be a very interesting battle to see who's going to have the better race pace around here. It's very overcast, I got to say, so you never know, there might be some rain also to come, but we're going to make a very easy move, that is, on Magnussen down the inside of 130. The car absolutely flying, obviously ultimate engine upgrade, so I would expect our car to be very, very good in a straight line today, of all places, with that extra upgrade and boost. And you can see Alonso, as he goes fastest there, he's wasting no time trying to get away from Dan Ricciardo. So now we have to try and waste no time trying to catch back up to that very man, the Australian, in the Red Bull car. And to be fair to Ricciardo and the Red Bull team, it took a lot longer than I thought it would. We're on lap 4 now, so it took us just about 3 laps then to actually catch up to second place. But here we go, swing around the outside. Ricciardo goes a little bit off circuit there and doesn't have anything to fight with it, and so we're going to be up into and make it a 1-2 for McLaren then. But you saw on the mini-map, as we go back to our POV, how much of a gap Alonso has already pulled. So we have a lot of work to do to catch up to our teammate to try and fight him for the race victory today, but we've got more pressing matters at the moment. You can see there briefly on the right hand side, I kind of went away from it. I'll go back to it because I was in such shock at the time of seeing it on heads-up display. But look how bad our tyre carcass temperature is. All 4 tyres are brick yellow in the middle. I'll try and go easy on them as we go through the end of lap 4. You can see the bottom left goes a little bit more green, the other's lime at the moment, but we do have an issue because you can't just go flat out and push as hard as you want when the tyre carcass, the internal temperature, is that high. So now they're a little bit more green. You can see I'm having to back off so much to the point where Ricciardo is now attacking me, and the gap is just growing and growing to Alonso because I need to protect these tyres. Remember, I'm doing a 1-stop. I need to go to lap 10. I'm only on lap 5 here, so we've got major issues right now with the tyre wear and more really the tyre heating, so I need to try and cool those down. I don't know if that's my setup maybe being too aggressive on the tyre heating and the carcass temperature, and so we're going to have to monitor that. But on lap 5, to say that, Alonso comes in very early, in my opinion, and so that must mean Alonso is doing a 2-stop. So that's my only saving grace here, that although I have issues with my tyre temperatures, I think Alonso's doing a 2-stop today because he comes out on soft tyres, so that's the soft strategy to the end of the Grand Prix. So I might be in the money that I'm making 1 less pit stop, so it might not matter that I have to give that much time up at the very start of the Grand Prix whilst monitoring my tyres. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that progresses. But at the moment, Ricciardo still keeps the pressure on me this entire first stint as I struggle with the tyre temperatures. And unfortunately for me, those struggles really continue, and so although I had a moment of kind of bringing the tyres back into temperature, by lap 7 through Spoon Curve, the tyres are already heating up back again. You can see the rears are slightly better, but the fronts, the left and the right, really quite poor, and so I'm going to make a decision to pit 3 laps earlier than what the default maybe I wanted to, and just try and I'm going to have to try and stretch the mediums a lot longer. But to be fair, I'm hoping that maybe Alonso gets hit with a little bit of traffic, or is maybe just a little bit slow on the soft tyres maybe, and we'll see how it goes. The sun is coming out, so it doesn't look like there's going to be some rain later. Looks like it's going to be all dry. I mean, to be fair, the weather forecast was all dry, but Ricciardo continues on. I come in, though, a lot earlier than I want to, and yes, that's the first time, really, in this game, I think. I'm trying to think back to previous episodes. I think this is really the first time ever I've had a major issue with the tyre wear and the tyre carcass temperature for the first time. Usually I'm quite good with monitoring that, very good at managing it in general. So I think maybe, like I said, it might have something to do with my setup, maybe the anti-roll bars and the suspension. I think I put them quite low, so maybe that put a lot more load on the inside of the tyre, maybe that they could handle on the fuel, on the full fuel in race conditions. So that might be something I need to look into for next season for Japanese Grand Prix on the setup I use. But nonetheless, then we're on mediums, the deed is done, and now we're going to the very end of this Grand Prix. So a long way at Suzuka, but I'm gonna have to trust the strategy of the 1-stop. You know, it was very OP in seasons 1 and 2, so let's hope it can help me combat against Alonso, who obviously is on that 2-stop that we confirmed. And at the moment, I'm actually very happy with the running order. I'm ahead of Hartley, and the only traffic I have is Nico Hülkenberg in P2. But Ricciardo there comes out behind the Kiwi in the Toro Rosso, and he's still there behind him by the time we get to lap 12, and it's all sunny now here at Japan. So Ricciardo's got traffic. I have 1 car myself. Alonso does not, obviously. He's in P1 at the moment, but once we get past Hülkenberg, we can just concentrate on doing a good job of trying to close up the gap, because remember, eventually Alonso's soft tyres will wear out to a point where they're slower than my medium tyres, so we just need to be patient and kind of trust the strategy. You know, we've seen how OP it has been previously, so we just need to trust that it's going to work out. But we're going to close up to Nico Hülkenberg now through 130R. We're going to go to the outside of the first part of the chicane, which will turn to the inside for the next, but Hülkenberg locks up badly, double lock up there for the German, and he forces us off circuit. We have to take to the escape route, and we have to come back on circuit very awkwardly indeed, and in doing so loses us some time, and so the traffic that I thought I could get past very easily in the form of Hülkenberg has ended up being very annoying for me. That was so odd. Double lock up from the German, and he basically left me no other choice but to go straight on, and then in that case, if I didn't use the escape road properly, the game would have given me a penalty there, so really annoying stuff there. And so now we make a big dive on the next lap there, and give Hülkenberg effectively a taste of his own medicine with a lock-up of our own to try and go deep and make the move, and then ironically and annoyingly, Hülkenberg just has to come in on that very lap. So literally, he's just cost us a couple of seconds there, and he was going to come in anyway in 2 laps time. Like, it was just so frustrating. At that point, I was very pissed off in the cockpit, but we can't do much now. We just have to do our best of catching up to Alonso now as we move on to lap 15, trying to push as hard as we can on these medium tyres. So they're pretty good grip on the mediums, actually, to say that they're pretty bad, you know, compared to the softs initially at the very start of this thing. We got yellow flags out, and we got a safety car now, a full safety car. So this actually changes everything. This could help us massively now in this Grand Prix, because I was genuinely concerned that Alonso had enough of a gap to pit and be out ahead of us on his fresh set of soft tyres, but now I have a chance to also make a second pit stop and go onto soft tyres myself. So it's going to be all equal on the same tyres then at the end of this Grand Prix, and this is why the safety car got called out there. Spin for Esteban Ocon on the back of Daniel Ricciardo's car there, and a very easy wheel off there for the Frenchman. So that's how he goes out the Grand Prix, and the FIA spring their safety car on us. So now we're in for our second pit stop, unscheduled of course, but we're going to get a free pit stop effectively onto a set of soft tyres. Alonso will make his already scheduled soft tyres, so in the end we don't lose out. Alonso is going to be the one that loses out, because potentially he could have pit for that second pit stop, and he could have actually been ahead of us. But now the safety car, obviously he's going to be ahead of us still, but the difference is I'm going to be right up his gearbox now, and so it's going to be a straight fight, effectively a bit of a sprint race now to the end of the Grand Prix. Myself v Alonso, same set of compounded tyres, soft tyres, fresh softs. It's going to be really great, as Vettel is now disqualified from the Grand Prix, and ironically and quite funny, it's going to be for the same reason Raikkonen got disqualified at Austria. Vettel hits the safety car. Very strange enough, he turns into it. Unfortunately, I can't even see the rest of the replay camera, because the second Vettel hit the safety car, the replay camera cuts off and treats Vettel's car as if he's out of the Grand Prix. So I couldn't even give you a good shot of him hitting the safety car properly like with Raikkonen, but very odd situation of why he did that again. But then here we go on lap 18. We've only got 9 laps left in this Grand Prix, and like I said, it's a 9-lap sprint race basically to the end of this race. Alonso in first, myself in second, and it's just McLaren v McLaren for this win and second place. We tried to heat up the tyres as much as we can, but of course against the AI the tyre warm-up is quite poor under the safety car, so we're going to have to try and just deal with it now. On the exit, Alonso chooses to accelerate as I'm mid-apex there, so I don't know if he chose to do that on purpose, but definitely put me off a little bit. But we have a pretty good exit compared to Nico Hülkenberg then in third place, who decided not to pit under the safety car actually, so he still remains there on those mediums. I think he was, or he might have hit actually, I don't know. I think he might have been on softs, but either way, Hülkenberg there holding up the train a little bit, and you're going to see pretty much now, like I said, it is McLaren v McLaren. No one else has the pace at the moment. Literally, we are untouchable as a team at this weekend. It really is a Mercedes 2014 style kind of weekend for us, because as we move on then onto lap 20, Alonso with the fast lap of the Grand Prix then. I'm not too far off that race pace though, as you can see on the top right there, and on the mini-map already we've got a huge gap. To say it's only been like 2 laps basically, and we've already got that monstrous gap, so we really are in a world of our own, which it makes this battle even better in terms of for us, for just me versus Alonso. This is going to be very feisty indeed. But behind us, there's plenty of action also going off. 2 by 2 it is between the Toro Rosso and Haas car, and also behind the Ferrari and Red Bull go fighting there. But as those guys fight and lose a lot of time to each other, we're just getting away and away, and I'm getting closer and closer now to Alonso and feeling the confidence in Sector 1 especially. And we could have a chance to make a pop up the hill in that favourite overtaking spot I had in Season 2 in the Haas this time last year. So here we go. We're going to size up the move on the left-hand side, find the grip, plant the power, are in 5th gear. Lift off a little bit. Alonso squeezes us, but there we go. We're still side by side up the hill. It's a fantastic battle here. We squeeze Alonso a little bit to the right, but he's going to squeeze us right back, and he actually squeezes us off circuit a little bit there. Very lucky not to go in the gravel trap, and so Alonso really getting the elbows out there, and there's no love lost here. Clearly, Alonso's prepared to really push me to the limit to keep this win. Of course, for his sake, in the championship, he'll get 7 points over me, so this 7 points is very important for Alonso, and for my sake as well, it's important for me not to lose the 7 points. So this is going to be a tough scrap, I can already tell there. I thought that might have been an easy overtake up the hill, but of course, you can never underestimate Fernando Alonso. He's been an alien at times this season, so we have to try and pull off some alien stuff ourselves, maybe to overtake him. So here we go now, flying towards 130R. No DRS through this section, remember, just pure out and out slipstream. But here we go through the apex, gaining time there, revving up 8th gear to the inside of the corner. Big lock up though in the front right, bit of contact made with the side pod, sparks flying there, and the warning, I think, for collision there with Alonso. So it's getting very, very tense, and I'm sure Zach Brown is pulling his collar at the moment on the pit wall, but we're going to have this slipstream, the DRS, to get past Alonso into turn 1, and we'd be up into 1st place of the Japanese Grand Prix. Alonso down to P2, but I'm sure you can bet it that Alonso's going to have another go at us on the end of the next lap there, and also at the same time, I've got to worry about that because I don't have too much ERS. Look at the bottom right. That is not enough ERS battery power deployment to last me for the entire back straight here through 130R and then the next pit straight. So I might be a bit of a sitting duck. We have to try our best to defend and try and use the fuel and just our track positioning to our advantage here. But Alonso is going to go neck and neck with us into 130R. He's probably deploying way more ERS than I am here, so I'm a bit of a sitting duck on the right hand side. But the only thing I have going for me is trying to keep it on the outside of this corner, and look at that, what a stunning shot. And we are literally really rubbing each other to the maximum point, really on the edge and the limit of grip and track space here. And so far, we're the better one at the moment in P1, but Alonso's got another good run, and this time, remember, he has DRS now on the main straight. There he goes, rear flap open, flies past us, and now I go down to none on the ERS deployment, because look at that, I literally had no deployment. I don't think my ERS was even deploying across the line, so I really did not judge that correctly, and I used far too much ERS trying to overtake him in the first place. That just shows how much pace he had, that I had to use that much electrical energy. And now into sector 1 there on lap 25. Don't do myself any favours by losing the back end, having to go full opposite lock in the middle of the S section. And so as we go on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, I've got some ERS left now. We're hot lap in overtake mode, but he's too far ahead now. I lost too much time on lap 25 there, and also on lap 26 trying to save ERS battery power. And so Alonso, I don't think I have anything left. He's far too far ahead, and so Alonso is going to be the one that wins the Japanese Grand Prix. He's going to get 7 points on us, but we come home for P2. It's a 1-2 for McLaren, and what you know, it's actually going to be the Constructors' World Championship for McLaren F1.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for McLaren today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Well, I'd say it's just raw pace, plain and simple. I mean, we could sit here and talk about strategy all day, the overtaking, looking after the tyres, but at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else, and that's exactly what they had today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
What a battle for the ages that was with my teammate Fernando Alonso, and fair play. I mean, he deserved that win. He did all he could. He defended well, overtook well. In the end, I just did not have enough to fight for him. But us two McLarens, we're in a world of our own. Literally, no one could touch us this weekend. And so it's only fitting that we win the Constructors' World Championship here at Suzuka in some style with a 1-2. That is the way you win a Constructors' World Championship in style, with a 1-2 there at the Grand Prix. I didn't even know we had won it until the commentary had said it in the post-race results that I usually cut off at the very end here. So absolutely amazing work. But obviously in the Drivers' Championship, Alonso gets 7 points over us. So now the gap is only 18 and we have 4 rounds left. So I need to come back, and I really need to get a result over Alonso. Even if it's like us in P3 and him P4, I need to beat him at least once in the next 2 rounds or something like that to just kind of stop his momentum. Because at the moment, remember, he's got 2 wins on the trot now. So F1's all about momentum swing. So I need to stop this momentum he's got right now if I'm to feel comfortable going into Abu Dhabi basically towards the end of the season. But Toro Rosso do a great job at their kind of quote-unquote home Grand Prix for Honda, and they get up ahead of Renault. So fantastic resurgence for Toro Rosso at the end of this season, and all round still, even though we did lose those 7 points, still an incredibly fun Grand Prix here at the Japanese Grand Prix. So let's go to the final questions then from Claire, and then round out the episode.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
Obviously, you had to come back from the grid penalty, so going to compliment the car, just stuck on circuit, really, didn't it?
You must be thrilled to be up on the podium.
Obviously, very thrilled to be on the podium, but I was expecting to be on the podium because I knew the car had that kind of pace to do that in a way, obviously.
So talk us through what happened between you and your rival today.
Going to be a bit showy with this, obviously. It was a good show, and that's what I love to see, between me and Alonso. There's always been great fighting between us two, so it was a good show.
It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it?
Now, this question, I thought they were talking about Hülkenberg, but in the end, they were actually talking about Alonso, so I get a rep decrease from McLaren there.
Appreciate your time.
So that was a little bit awkward because I thought I was going to call Hülkenberg an idiot, basically, but I actually called my teammate Alonso one, even though I don't think he did anything wrong there. We made contact, but that was my fault into the chicane, and he was pretty fair with it. It was a little bit iffy with a squeeze off, in the middle part of the lap up the hill, but that was fair enough. You're going to do that when you got 2 high-level drivers fighting for a title like that in the same car, same machinery. Something always is going to happen like that, and you're going to push the limits. But either way, let's push that aside and just revel in this. A McLaren Constructors World Championship. I don't even know and remember when the last time McLaren won the Constructors. Let me know in the comments below, guys, because I literally can't remember it off the top of my head. But it's been a long while. It's been a long while since McLaren has won the Constructors. Historically, McLaren have not been a team that wins the Constructors a lot. They have won a lot of Drivers' Championships, but they've not won a lot of Constructors, especially in the modern era of Formula 1. So this is a real big deal. We've made history by getting a 1-2 there at the Japanese Grand Prix to secure the World Constructors Championship. So guys, be sure to smash that like button for that alone, and on top of that, that great scrap with Fernando Alonso. If you did enjoy that, let me know in the comments below. If you're new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoyed today, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.